Before the video starts, make sure to watch the previous part to understand this part, previous part link in the description. Let's begin. Aang smoothly takes over the kingdom smoothly by forging a story that Jacksongord realized his inability to be a good ruler, and stepped down the throne himself, passing it to Aang to return to living as a free countryman. Aang further announces the change of the kingdom name to the Latenberg Kingdom. His first task to do after taking the crown was to reorganize his cabinet by appointing Viscount Crumble as his head of administration, in place of Keltrin. He rewarded Joldarin and Ravel by appointing them commander and vice-commander, and lastly promoted Keltrin to the status of a prime minister. This made all the nobles of Jacksongord to worry about getting exiled along with their families, since Aang totally reset the kingdom appointments by removing people working for Jacksongord, but Aang used this as an opportunity to improve his image by calling it cruel to exempt all of the nobles' families, so he chose to forgive them all. Using this excuse of proving his benevolence, he smoothly mentions taking Queen Layla, daughter of Chromaton and the former queen, as his wife. This shocks everyone and builds questions in their mind, but the excuse of Aang's leaving behind the past buries all the doubts, and makes the nobles swear loyalty to him. Aang mentally praises Keltrin's plan and its success, while Layla discreetly expresses her happiness of finally being treated as a person, instead of an object like in the past. Sihan excitedly enters Keltrin's office, congratulating him on becoming the prime minister, and joking about the entire kingdom's fortune coming directly under his hand, while Keltrin laughs it off, mentioning he won't be doing any misdeed with that since the past fortune from Jacksongord has become enough for him as a fortune. The two then discuss how everything turned out well smoothly, and due to Jacksongord's lack of quality rule, people would appreciate Aang more, but Keltrin expresses a little worry of the kingdom becoming truly weak since they were saved from attack before due to Jacksongord's strengths, but now the kingdom is completely exposed to danger. Sihan does not think it's that danger ours, to which Keltrin butters him up that it's because Sihan will put the rest of the kingdoms in same state soon. He then mentions devoting himself completely in support of Sihan's revenge, but Sihan knows Keltrin is not that selfless, and jokes about it. Keltrin then clears his throat and gets serious, telling Sihan that defeating the other revolutionary heroes would definitely not be as easy as dealing with Jacksongord, since Jacksongord was the only one who was proven to be a bad king, and did not try at all to improve his skills and abilities, while the others actually did work hard on themselves afterwards. Lilstein and Saffron rule the 4 ivory towers and have reached the stage of Flow Master. Even Sihan thinks to himself that he surely knows those two are much better Magians than him now. Keltrin further briefs that their aunt and Karen have also improved their strengths and indeed worked hard in themselves, unlike Jacksongord. He then hesitantly adds that the strongest of all of them has indeed become Lavina. Sihan, upon seeing his hesitance, tells him to go ahead and be clear, to which Keltrin mentions that when it will come to choosing between those heroes and the otherworldly savior Sihan, every sane person would definitely choose Sihan, but if the choice comes between Sihan and Thief Queen Lavina, then the choice would not be that simple and obvious. Sihan's eyes go wide in disbelief at this revelation. He never expected Lavina to have become that strong. Keltrin sighs sadly and goes ahead in talking about the 3 people he knows Joe can go up against Sihan. One was the Guardian Knight of Lusclan Empire, Rodark, who's already been killed by Sihan. The second being the mercenary King Barak, whose whereabouts have been unknown since the fall of his empire, so nobody knows if he's even alive or not anymore. While the third person is Lavina, who hides herself behind her magic. Lavina has reached the deity rank over the time and is the only person on the continent who currently possesses the qualities of the otherworldly savior, mercenary King Barak, and the knight Rodark. Sihan is left speechless and shocked at this information, not being able to digest that Lavina has gotten so much stronger, but then he realizes that 10 years back when she was just in her late teens, then too she has a transcendent rank and was known to be a prodigy, so it makes sense that she reached the ultimate rank by now. Keltrin further adds that he thinks it's a possibility that the Arant has reached close to Lavina's rank too, along with adding that, even with this rank, her not trying to take over the other kingdoms shows that she's still doubtful about winning against the others. Sihan is too confused to understand all that. He mentions to Keltrin of the possibility of being confused about someone else, since Lavina wasn't the person to step on other people due to her greed. Keltrin tries to form decent words to be clear to Sihan, but not being able to do so, he apologizes in advance and then lashes out on Sihan, telling him everyone knows Lavina and everyone knows she's exactly like that, be it the other heroes or a follower of some king like Keltrin. And the only person who doesn't really know Lavina has been Sihan. Sihan just sits there silent and dejected with his head bowed down, to which Keltrin bows to Sihan and apologizes for his behavior. But Sihan panics and waves it off, telling him he's not mad at Keltrin and gives the excuse of having stomach ache, and gets up to go get some rest. He walks away thinking that Keltrin's words were right and the last interaction of his with Lavina, showing her cold eyes, may have been her true nature he didn't know of. Also, quick reminder as we are going through the recap, if you are new to the channel, around 52% of viewers are not already subscribed, and if that's you and you want to guarantee you're always up to date with all good content like this, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and join us on the road to 1 million subs. And if you enjoy the video or if you found it interesting, let me know by dropping a like and comment on it as well, would be seriously appreciated. Let's continue. Alita notices Sihan getting ready and questions if he's going somewhere, to which he responds in affirmative of being bored, so going on a walk to borrow some books. Alita happily offers to tag along, excusing as being bored herself. Dina excitedly jumps, trying to accompany her master, to which Xion timely interrupts her and forcefully drags her along to train her so she doesn't interrupt Sihan's romantic break. Dina resists going with Xion since she does not want to leave Alita alone with Sihan. Sihan and Alita laugh it off, thinking the two are close friends, hence the banter occurred. Sihan and Alita enjoy the walk down the town, liking the changed and lively atmosphere after Jexengord. Alita notices a library and they both go in, where she surfs through the books while Sihan spots some fan fictions about his life, specifically romantic fictions. He notices a book named Otherworld Savior's Lover and picks it, curious if it's about Lavina and him, only to receive a traumatic image of him and Lilstein being each other's love interests in the story. He keeps ranting in rage and embarrassment at the thought of this, while Alita is amused at the sight of a rambling Sihan. Alita ends up buying a book while Sihan comes out with The Fright of the Imagination World and People Hold. While casually strolling, they both come across the statues of all the revolutionary heroes that Jexengord got made. Alita points out his statue, which makes him realize how he looks in the sight of other people. Even though disturbing, it's kind of a relief since people won't be able to easily recognize him. Alita then questions what Sihan's next plan is going to be, since he succeeded in the first part of his revenge now. Sihan wonders while looking at the statues of his targets. He mentions being able to defeat Lilstein or Saffron since magic is their forte and it doesn't work on him, but he knows better than to make an opinion about a Magion just like that, so he is not gonna aim at them for now. He mentions thinking of going after their aunt since he can have a one-on-one fight with him, but Keltrin's words of him almost being reached the deity rank halted Sihan, since he has not yet recovered all his powers, and still lies on the transcendent rank, which could have him lose against their aunt. So Alita questions if they should keep training till then, but he taps his footboard since he already waited for all this since 10 years and he just doesn't want to do that anymore, so he has his next target in sight. He has been planning to take down Karen Ignatius, known to people as the Immortal Witch. Sihan briefs Alita that Karen has been a witch that possesses the two powers that usually no people possess at the same time. She possesses the power to heal people as well as the destruction power. She can heal people from diseases and destroy people by inflicting diseases on them, so this is a very dangerous power, but not something to help use as a combat skill. Alita sounds concerned for them to be dealing with someone who can inflict diseases on people, but Sihan is not really worried about that since Terranor's diseases can't infect him, so her authority won't work on him. Alita is surprised as to how no disease of theirs could affect him, which counts as a relief to Sihan since he'd already been dead elsewise. He mentions that even Earth's diseases won't affect anyone here, since out of curiosity he brought with him all kinds of diseases with him, and it's a mystery how the portals don't allow it since those bacteria are indeed living organisms. Alita also wonders what the standard of living being is for these portals, to which Sihan smiles, recalling this exact thought being Lilstein's research 10 years back. He recalls the memory where Lilstein kept bugging Sihan about the history of what the criteria of living being is for crossing dimensions, to which Sihan replies maybe it's related to something having a soul, so Lilstein keeps getting darker in ideas over his curiosity about possibilities of people dying within the portal and moving across as ghouls, or a pregnant mother with a living baby inside dying within the portal. These scare Sihan, so he tries to stop Lilstein, who shyly smiles considering this the concept of researches on magic. Lil Stein then approaches Sihan with a rather gross example than dark by asking if a person is sucked in the dimensional portal while pooping, what will happen to the shit? This earns Lil Stein a smack on the head on being so gross before their lunchtime, but the smack wasn't by Sihan but by none other than Karen. Karen serves everyone with food while they all look at it with a concerned look. She dejectedly tells that the ingredients are hard to get lately, but they all wave it off saying it's good. Lil Stein and Sihan ask if she's eaten, but she makes an excuse of not being hungry. The two kids look at each other and enthusiastically wave their spoons in front of her mouth asking her to eat. She smiles and denies, but their insistence makes her take it from them. The two happily turn towards their aunt, wanting him to have it too, to which the guy with the pride denies of never in life accepting to eat like that. He then walks off being done with eating while the three look at him leave. Sihan and Lil Stein talk bad about him from the back, to which he shouts at them from outside while Karen observes all this with a polite smile resting on her face. She then stops leaving Sihan and wraps his scarf around him, telling him she fixed it for him since it's getting cold outside. Sihan recalls her affection and thinks of how her care for all of them was like a mother or a sister, even though some of them were older than her. He mentions thinking if the woman in her family would have been like that if he had one, since she has been a very kind, calm, and warm-hearted person. Karen was a person who he remembers as one who never lost her smile no matter how hard the situation was. Darkly enough, she even used to have a smile on face while slaying the enemies in fights. Sihan laughs a bit, telling they all seem to be close enough and comfortable enough like a family back them, and he truly learned a lesson from them. Alida seems a bit concerned for Sihan at this mention, but he smiles at her, suggesting they should head back. At the Ignatius Kingdom, Karen discusses with her workers about the dethroning of Keltron, to which they tell her that his eldest son Ains is the new ruler, and all this was plotted by Count Keltron. Karen is surprised at this since the person so well known as a coward cannot make this big of an accomplishment just like that. Feeling something odd, she tells them to investigate further about what exactly went down there. She calls in for the next person when an old man enters, and discusses the issue about the displaced people who fled from Jexengord's kingdom and came here. He informs that some of them broke into the temple and stole the stuff that was sacrificed for the goddess. She questions why would they do that since it was ordered to supply them with ample food and necessities. The old man hesitantly mentions that the person in charge of the distribution turned out to be a fraud, and didn't quite provide those people with the supplies. He further mentions that stealing the sacrifices for the goddess is considered as a heavy sin, and then takes a moment to mention how the punishment is the problem. Those people were only trying to feed their starving families, hence they were stealing that stuff, so giving them a harsh punishment would be quite unfair to them. Karen interrupts the man with a blank expression, telling him they should stick to the goddess commandments, and even though their situation was tough, it's not an excuse for their sins, so she blankly announces the punishment to hang all those people as well as the person who committed the embezzlement. The old man stands there with a little pained expression at this command, but Karen coldly adds that the laws made by humans are emotionally biased, hence are unfair, and they should only follow the laws and saying by their goddess because only those are the right ways of life. The old man is excused to leave while he looks at the queen, thinking of how emotionless her eyes are, even though the judgment she made was not at all fair, but of course they have to do as the commandments say. On the other hand, Keltron excitedly comes to Sihan, informing him of having taken care of all his requirements by adding the name of the three to the envoy heading towards the Ignatius Kingdom. A casually lying Sihan is surprised at the pace of Keltron since he just asked him to want a way to approach Karen, naturally just a day ago, and he came up with the problem being solved. He thought Keltron will come up with an idea to this issue, but he came with all preparations made. Keltron laughs awkwardly, telling he knew Ains would send an envoy to different nations as a new king, so he left space for 3 envoys of every nation for a situation like this. Sihan is half impressed at this, but casually asks Keltron to ask his plans the next time, so he doesn't have to compromise someone's job to leave spaces in every possible team for them. Keltron likes the idea and accepts it, and then briefs Sihan about Ignatius and the other kingdoms having a positive outlook towards this change of rule here, so the envoy can help him contact all other kingdoms as well except for one. Sihan mentions having an idea of knowing this person who was the closest to Jexengord and won't like Ains right away, but he expects not from her to start an open war with it. He thinks of the possibility of meeting Saffron earlier than he expected with this. Subscribe to watch more videos like these, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching and see you on the next part.